to discuss more. Anissa, let's dive right into this. First, Senator Marco Rubio, his comments on Vladimir Putin. He called him a gangster and said he believes Putin wants to destroy NATO. First, let's take a listen.
First of all, I have an understanding of exactly what it is Russia and Putin are doing, and it's pretty straightforward. He wants to reposition Russia once again as a geopolitical force. He himself said that the destruction of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Soviet Union, was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. And now he's trying to reverse that. He's trying to destroy NATO. The Russians will begin to fly combat missions in that region, not just targeting ISIS, but in order to prop up Assad. He will also then turn to other countries in the region and say, America is no longer a reliable ally, Egypt. America is no longer a reliable ally, Saudi Arabia. Begin to rely on us. What he is doing is he is trying to replace us as the single most important power broker in the Middle East, and this president is allowing it.
All right, is Senator Rubio the authority on this? Does he have a point there?
Well, nothing really new. Like you said, it was sort of a chorus of anti-Russia, anti-Putin statements. And this goes back several elections back. Like, you have to stand up to Russia. This is something we saw in 2008, 2012. What I thought was interesting specifically about this debate were the lack of facts. Flying over NATO to fight ISIS, it doesn't make sense, right? NATO's in Europe. It's right on Russia's border. So anyone who looks at a map and wants to do some fact-checking can see that it's NATO that has grown since the Warsaw Pact. And Russia does see that as a threat to its national interests, but it's not Russia which is growing towards NATO. But this is something I think that many people expected. You know, you need a strong Republican candidate to stand up to Russia. Russia is, I think he called Putin a gangster, so it's nothing new, right? Putin the gangster, the dictator, the authoritarian leader. No new ideas, really. And unfortunately, one of the slightly different tones we heard on Russia came from a candidate who a lot of people hope won't become president, let's say. And that was, of course, Donald Trump.
Okay. We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's get to Carly Fiorina first. She was asked what she would do to stop Putin from propping up Syria. So this is what she had to say.
Russia is in Syria right now because the head of the Quds force traveled to Russia and talked Vladimir Putin into aligning themselves with Iran and Syria to prop up Bashar al-Assad. Russia is a bad actor, but Vladimir Putin is someone we should not talk to.
All right, what do you have on Miss Fiorina?
Well, Fiorina went on to also propose what she would do to stand up to Vladimir Putin, to, I think it was, quote, send him the message or make him get the message. And according to her, what needs to be done is building up missile defense, more troops in Germany. Not very different from what we're seeing from Obama. There's about 40,000 American troops in Germany, so what's her idea of a few thousand more being there? Missile defense was a disaster. It stalled the START treaty between the U.S. And Russia under Obama. So she's pretty much proposing the same exact policy that Obama has had under the last 4 years. And I doubt many Republicans watching this debate are aware of that, how much her policies are very similar to that of Obama's.
I think part of what was missing from this debate when it came to Russia or anything was any pushback from a moderator or any discussion or fact-checking, anything like that. It was just say what you want.
Or a proposal of how to really solve what probably is the worst time in U.S.-Russia relations in a very long time. Like, how do you actually solve the problem and not make it worse? And that's worrying, actually.
So let's move on now to the leading candidate in the polls, Donald Trump, who says he would actually get along with Putin.
Right, and that's why I said, oh, you're going to listen.
Let's take a listen real quick.
We don't get along with anybody, and yet at the same time, they rip us left and right. They take advantage of us economically and every other way. We get along with nobody. I will get along, I think, with Putin, and I will get along with others, and we will have a much more stable world.
All right, Anissa, you just said that U.S.-Russia relations are at a really low point. Trump is saying he would go to the table with Putin, maybe have dinner with him,
right,
get along with him.
He's also saying we don't, America doesn't get along with anyone, which is relatively true, right? If you look what's really happening here, he went on to talk about China and other things, and I'm not boasting Trump's, political platforms or anything, but it's certainly a new idea, this idea of diplomacy actually going to talk, and it's something that I think a lot of real experts on global policy, on foreign policy, on detente, how to solve problems, would probably suggest that sitting down at the table might be a better idea than military buildup or rhetoric or just throwing words and threats back and forth at one another.
Now, I'm going to throw you a little curveball, though, because I want to get to this. Back in the Cold War days, we still sat at the table. Now it seems that that's not really even an option.
That's interesting. I recently interviewed an expert on the Cold War who pointed out exactly that. Like, it's almost worse because now we just don't talk. Like, during detente, during the ease of the Cold War also, leaders would travel, meet, talk, at least try to solve the issue, and now it's almost like they can't find time to sit down with one another and try to solve the most pressing issues facing the international community. It's a horrible irony, really. We have so much technology and ways to connect, and leaders are further apart than ever, I think.
Well, I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about this coming up. Anissa Naouai, host of In the Now. Thank you so much.